is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 52. My name is Zach Graham, your host here on the North End Podcast, joined by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend, and he is still on the road. So bear with us if there are any technical difficulties here. His name is Ian Michaud. We call him E, a.k.a. E. James Lakers, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew EC, a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willie, a.k.a. Eon Stonkel. E, like I said, you're on the road. We missed you on Sunday. Our buddy Brian filled in admirably. And again, happy birthday to Brian. It is his birthday today. But glad to have you back in the fold, my friend. And how are you doing? How's the trip going out through the hill country?
Trip is going great so far. Ran into our first repair that we could not overcome on the side of the road. Well, one of my spokes broke on my back tire. My tire is not really meant for, my bike and my tire are not really meant for what I'm doing with the amount of weight I'm carrying on that back tire. So something happened with it. Spoke broke, and it kind of threw off the alignment of my back wheel. So I had to get picked up by a buddy. Stayed in Blanco last night, and I have snuck back into the hotel that we stayed in. I think unnoticed. They last night they let us store our bike conference room, and she goes, "Yeah, it's secure." I was like, "All right, well, how's it like secure? Do we need like a key or anything?" She goes, "Oh no, you don't pull the handle down, you pull it up." So nice and safe in here. But other than that, the trip's going great. Absolutely beautiful. I hadn't been on a bike in like 2.5 years, so definitely paid my dues that first day, and doing a little rest day today to recover, and squeezing the pod in because the average analysis, it must go on whether the people want it or not.
Whether the people want it or not, we're gonna keep churning it out. So glad to hear that able to get that repair in today, and able to get into the super secret secure location to get this pod done here midweek, May 3rd. Beautiful, like you said. We keep talking about that weather. Beautiful in Central Texas this week.
Yeah.
And again, like we didn't really get to discuss anything. You guys took off basically from the game, caught some rest, got up in the morning, and took off on your ride. So is there anything from the game that you wanted to touch on? I mean, we saw, our boy Rigoni, not just scoring for Austin FC, scoring for the North End Pod best ball team. We'll get to that a little bit later. Anything else I guess I should say, that you wanted to maybe talk about before we move on fully to Portland?
I mean, incredibly happy for Rodney, incredibly happy for Rigoni, happy for Seba to finally, get one in the back of the net there. Obviously not thrilled with the result because I felt like that should have been 3 points for us. And we had some defensive mishaps that just needed to be cleaned up, and we're just better than that, and it's hard to say I'm disappointed with the form that this team has been in to walk away with a point there. But, at home at the Q, it feels like 3. But with that being said, 2 goals, it's been a long time, the back of the net. And, I saw Rodney celebrating with Rigoni there, and I just felt really happy for him. It looked like the first time like he was like actually like getting showered in some like praise and some congratulations, and it looked like he really soaked that up, and that was awesome for me. Like that was like the highlight of the match for me. Of course, the dreaded Abobasi.
You called it last week.
A thorn in our side for sure, but a fun game, and super happy to be back at the Q, and looking forward to getting back there again.
Yeah, we got a lot of games coming up fast and furious. 7, potentially 8 May games for Austin FC with league play and the Open Cup. We will be at Q2 twice next week, a week from today, taking on New Mexico United, and then FC Dallas coming to town. Again, that will still be a Copa Tejas warm-up, one of those extra matches. But let's get into Portland here. We'll put a bow on San Jose. I think it's funny to me I guess not really fully moving on here. It's funny to see the fan base divided about how we feel about the result at home. Like, I think certainly you and I kind of in lockstep together thinking like there was stuff to build on there. There are positives finally after a few matches where we felt like we had none. But we also are not satisfied at all with a point at home. Like Coach said, ties don't do you much good at home. So the team knows that. We know that. But the goal drought broken. And, that, like Brian was saying, there was that fight. We came back from one down twice in that game. And certainly had the opportunities to go ahead at the end and couldn't convert. But let's see how we can do this Saturday. It is not going to get any easier going up to the Pacific Northwest to Providence Park on the turf where Austin FC not only has not gotten a point, but has never scored a goal. So another goal drought we're looking to break here, but going through the history, 5 meetings between these two teams. And despite only getting a point or no points against Portland last year, this is still, at least for me, one of my favorite opponents all time because of what happened in the first year. The first meeting between these two teams, July 1st, 2021, 4-1 victory for Austin FC. First ever home goal. Shout out John Gallagher. First ever Austin FC home win. We saw who else there? I think we had a Diego goal. We had an Alex Ring goal. We had a Hector Jimenez goal. Unforgettable night there. And then 2 months later, they come back August 21st, 2021, 3-1 home win, 3 goals in the first 29 minutes for Austin FC in that one. Shout out to Steve Clark, our favorite opposing keeper. Most goals given up by an opposing keeper in Q2 history with 10, gave up 3 more in the Houston net last year. To close out the 2021 season, we went up to Providence Park, a 3-0 road loss. Portland needed a result to solidify playoff positioning. And of course, we were out of it at that point. And that Portland team went on to the MLS Cup final. So certainly no shame in that result. But last year left some things to be desired. March 12th, 22. That was our 3rd game, our first road game in the second season. We were riding high, 10 goals in the first 2 games, record-setting start to the season. 1-0 road loss up there at Portland. The only shot on goal in the game for either team, it went in the back of the net. I believe it was a Bill Tuiloma headed goal off the set piece there. And then they come to Austin August 31st of last year, 2-1 home loss for Austin in that one. So looking to turn things around here, of course, are the Verde and Black. But a lot of injuries so far this season for the Timbers. We know it well with Evander missing a couple weeks there for the best ball team. Jimmy Chara was also out for an extended period of time after being injured in week 2. Both of those guys now healthy, though, and Portland coming off a road victory against St. Louis City 2-1 last week. Both of those guys scored. Evander, PK, and then Jimmy Chara off the bench. Even though those guys are healthy, and when you got those 2 guys, right, and Diego Chara in the defensive half, you're going to be able to compete with most of the teams in this league. But Eric Williamson tore his ACL a few weeks ago. That's a big loss for this team. I believe Zach McGraw on that back 4 has been beat up as well. And then David Ayala, one of their U22 players, he also tore his ACL last week. So that midfield, certainly showing some signs of, or I should say, they're probably lacking a little bit of depth there at this point. And then your boy, Dairon Asprilla, also missed last week with a knee issue, but seems like he may be able to get back on the pitch this week. And again, mentioned Providence Park is on turf. Historically, Austin does not do well on turf. Our boy Driussi does not even want to play on turf. So it'll be interesting to see what type of lineup Josh rolls out here. Portland currently, let me pull up the standings here. And again, I guess I mentioned Zach McGraw struggling with an injury. He did play last week, so I think we should certainly expect him in there this week unless he picked up a knock that I missed. Portland, 10 games in, so we've got a game in hand. They are sitting on 11 points from those 10 games, 3 wins, 2 draws, 5 losses with a goal differential of -3. Of course, Austin, 2 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses, goal differential of -6, 9 points from their 9 matches. So let's talk about us. It's the more fun thing to discuss here. We saw Coach talking after the match about Julio Cascante being ready, Alexander Radovanovic being ready. Neither guy got into the game last week, though. So I guess that's the first question. Is this the week that we see Josh go back, come back home, I guess, so to speak? True center backs on that back line. Do you think it's finally time? This is the game we've been eyeing.
I do think it's finally time. And I think it's time that we get Julio back there and we push Alex up, particularly in this very difficult place to play. I want to have some more veterans out on the pitch in just a really tough environment. Obviously, you went through our track record playing this team. Obviously, a team that I know that you respect and I really respect as well, just a club that, does a lot of things the right way. And I remember last year when we were kind of previewing the playoffs and I was like, I don't want to play those fuckers. No way. Because the Chara brothers, you're going to get maximum effort out of them and they're super talented. They have a connection that, a lot of the people in this league just can't, you can't have. They have a more, intimate connection than anyone I've seen really with how they play. Read one another. Evander, one of the most skilled players in the league, obviously getting healthy. So I want to see Julio back, Alex pushed up, Owen to the bench again. Or is he available or is he going to be?
I don't think he's gone quite yet. I have not seen that U20 US team select its final roster yet. That is coming up. I think we're about 2.5 weeks away from the start of the U20 World Cup. And maybe that is another reason to not play Owen as much since he's going to be gone. I don't think we see him DNP until he leaves, but maybe that makes some sense why we're getting some more Valencia minutes and maybe see Alex up into that midfield this game.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I mean, when we're looking at this roster and the injuries we're currently dealing with, you saw in that last game, we went to some more of our traditional formation stuff and our older tactics, and we got 2 on the board. So I'm totally content. Everyone knows that I'm an Owen supporter. I think he's a fantastic player. But I'm totally content getting Julio back into the starting lineup. Another, strong voice on the pitch, somebody who's going to not be afraid in that situation. And then Alex as well. Obviously, we know what he brings to the table in regard to being a leader, a veteran, a consummate professional, and, a bit of an asshole when we need him to be. So that's how I foresee the back kind of, positional changes that we could see. Obviously, rock with Danny as well. But again, tough place to play, but I really feel like we can get a point here, given the fact that this Portland team.
Sorry, I think you cut out there for a second at the end. You said, given that Portland team
is relatively banged up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I think you're spot on there, at least in my mind of how I'm seeing this match is I know we haven't gotten a result up there yet, but it does feel like it's a point at least is ripe for the taking here, just because they are also without some of their most important, most key players. They've also had a little bit of a revolving door at goalkeeper where Ivicic was in there early in the year. I think he was injured and then also in his early appearances was not good. David Bingham then came in and was fine, but then he got hurt, so Ivicic is back in there. It's just they are maybe struggling with some of the consistency in their lineup like Austin has to start this season. And even with those other guys back, the Evanders, the Yimi Charas, missing Eric Williamson is big. Missing a young guy like Ayala, who they have been starting to count on more in that midfield. But let's shift back to the good guys here. I know one thing I want to see for sure, or maybe I should say don't want to see, is I do not want to see Adam Lundqvist start this game. I think certainly I'm not calling for him to not start another game this year because we're going to need him. We're going to need him, especially with John out with the ACL. But John Gallagher needs to start this match and every match that he possibly can on this back line right now, because we've seen Coach Wolf's unwillingness to play Hector Jimenez, and I think that is probably for good reason, as I believe the oldest member of the team. There's a reason he went from a senior spot to a supplemental roster spot in the offseason. And so now with with less depth at that fullback position and Lundqvist's poor performance on Saturday, I would like to see Johnny get back in there, and I think that's what we see. I don't think Josh is going to be messing around with that. Like if we see Lundqvist midweek against New Mexico on Wednesday, I'm fine with that. But these league games, we need Johnny. I think that he is going to bring that level of competitiveness and talent level, I think, at this point that we need at the left back spot. So I would like to see that, and I think we get it.
I think I agree with that, and I would definitely prefer to see Lundqvist versus New Mexico, and I think that's probably your time to get Rado's feet wet.
Good call.
Just because, like we said, when he was getting transferred, he had fell out of favor with the coaching staff, was having some issues, wasn't really playing. So I think that's a good opportunity to get his feet wet and get him into and see how he looks in our system. Let me ask you this. It's not too on track with what we're talking about right now, but something to this or a nothing burger that we get 2 goals without Diego there? Because, I mean, we scored from his position.
Yeah, well, and maybe I'm saying nothing. It's nothing because I don't want it to be something. Like, and man, like I'm just gonna say nothing straight up because he was so important to what we did last year, and we know he was not in form to start the year. Or, if he was, like, maybe he was physically fine despite the hints that maybe he was a little bit out of shape compared to where he was at his all-star level, right? And with the contract extension, like I think it's fair for us to hold him to that bar of performance that we saw last year. Maybe not you have to be top 2 or 3 in assists in the league, but you got to be doing better than what you showed through the first month and a half of the season when you were healthy. So I'm going to say nothing, but I'll throw it back at you. Do you think there's something there?
No, I too would say nothing.
Okay.
It's small of a sample size right now. And it was just something that I was wondering about in regard to, like, if you were feeling that way. Other question I have for you, do you know if these Portland players, are they getting hurt on the road or at home? I'm wondering if this turf is what's the cause of these ACL issues.
Yeah. Well, with Williamson, I'm not sure if he got hurt at home or on the road, but we know Ayala last week was on the road at St. Louis, and I believe that is a grass field there. I'm not 100% on that. But that does bring up, like, I was in LDR Slack this week, we were discussing, turf injuries versus grass injuries, and if there's a notable correlation there. And so I went digging. And not crazy research here. We leave that to the rest of our research team here at the North End.
Yeah.
But, the most recent studies that I had seen, and this, admittedly, not the same sport, but on the NFL side of things, and that data that was compiled showed that there was no real notable correlation between turf and, like, a higher frequency of lower body injuries. The one injury that actually was, like, the highest deviation between the surfaces was ankle injuries, and not knee. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. And so I think maybe that narrative is a little bit played up in the sports realm, at least with the data that I could find. But I also I'm not going to dismiss the idea that certain players, like your knees, react differently, or your body reacts differently, and you don't like playing on turf. Like I totally get that. Do you think that that's maybe going to affect who we roll out there tonight? Because we had the buffer last season to go to a place like Vancouver and sit Seba down and just bring him in for the last 20 minutes or so of a match, right? Like, we don't really have that wiggle room at this point of the season. So I think we roll out a first choice 11 here. Are you worried at all about maybe seeing some rotation in that fashion? Because Driussi and Ring are the two guys I think that we have historically tried to keep off turf as much as possible.
That's an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it. I was more so just looking at the injuries for that team, and maybe there's some sort of correlation between the transition between playing field and playing turf. Like that is the one variable, as opposed to like how many injuries occur percentage wise on the turf versus on the green. Fuck, I would not like to see Seba rotated now. But yeah, he historically does not like playing on this type of surface, and we just can't afford it. We can't afford it. Diego's already down. We're trying to get Cascante back into the mix. Obviously, Rado's over here now, but no, we can't sit him. I don't see how coach could get away with it. I mean, he's already getting killed half the time for anything he does. You bench Seba, we lose 3-0. Like, definitely not looking good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like I said a minute ago, like I think these league games right now we have to just go full force as much as we can. We have to pick up points here in the month of May and get at least over that 9th place threshold here in the next few weeks. It's not far off. And so, I'm with you there. I'm not surprised. Not to have like a defeatist attitude or be negative, but like if we fall behind and we're 60 minutes into this match and it's 2-0 or something like that with New Mexico on Wednesday, and the team has said we are going after this US Open Cup. We are trying to compete in these tournaments. And so like, jokes aside about how we treated leg 1 of CCL and how serious we're actually taking these, I think we're going to roll out a, semi-rotated lineup on Wednesday. I imagine Driussi needs to be starting that one too, though, because we know how disjointed this team has looked without him on the pitch. So maybe if we fall behind 2 goals, something like that on Saturday night, maybe we pull him off early and get him some in-game rest there with New Mexico Wednesday and Dallas coming up next Saturday. So I guess we're kind of dancing around this entire thing. Let's go to our lineup predictions and desires. We've talked a little bit about that here, and then we'll give our score predictions. You've talked about, you think we see Julio there, or you want to see Julio. You want to see Ring back in his defensive mid position. What do you think we see? And are we getting Rodney again? Are we getting Maxi again? What do you think we roll out here in terms of the 11?
I would say we go Lima, Cascante, Leo, Johnny, Danny, Alex, Rodney, Seba, Rigoni, bro, and then I hope G.
Yeah.
And I want G, and I hope G. Maxi still has done absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm in lockstep with you, man. Like I don't think I'm surprised. I don't think I'm surprised if Alex Ring does not start.
Sure.
Because
what's Sophie's status?
I mean, last update, and I think we'll get press availability on Thursday. So hopefully he is back available and we can see him on the bench as some midfield depth there. But last we heard, he was out for Saturday. But I mean, we did see the clip that I think Adam got for Cap City Soccer last week at the press availability, where Sophie was playing the tech ball, which was like the ping pong with the, the curve table. Yep. He was playing that with those guys. So it's certainly not something serious, because the trainers would not let him be fucking around like that if it was a long-term deal. So I imagine we'll get that update tomorrow. I hope it is Alex as well, because we just haven't seen it. And I think if we hadn't had the injury issues on the back line that we've suffered early in this season, we've talked about it, right? Like Alex would have been rotating in and out with Owen and with Danny. Like I fully believe that it wasn't supposed to be Owen game in and game out through the first 7-8 games of the year. And then I'm with you on Giassi. Like I will still maintain neither guy has done anything to get me super excited about the 9 position. And so I'm not going to gripe about either guy starting up top, but I would like to see Giassi get a turn here.
Yeah. We just got to keep spinning this wheel until somebody does something.
Yeah. And I think, dude, I would be frustrated if we took Rodney out of the 11 now.
I agree.
Reward the young man for what is probably his most complete performance in a Verde and black uniform.
I agree.
And I think we'll see that. So we'll see on Saturday night, 9:30 p.m. Central kick. So looking out for that lineup around 8:45 p.m. I'll be up there at our buddy Timmy's wedding. So, I'm going to be corner of the wedding guy watching the game. I'm sure that'll make the lovely Annabelle really happy.
You going to wear your jersey underneath?
I have to.
Attaboy.
I mean, that's our brand, right?
That's all. And Tim, congrats, man, whatever.
All right. Last thing to do on the Portland preview, score predictions. I know this is not the first week that you will predict an Austin FC draw or a loss. So I'll ask you, Eastradamus, how much is Austin FC winning by this week?
We're going to win 1-0.
1-0.
I love it. Thug it out. We're going to grind one out. We're going to get an ugly goal. Maybe it dribbles into the net. Maybe it rolls in there.
Okay.
Shit. Maybe one of the Portland players just kicks it in the back for us. 3 points, not well deserved. I don't know if we feel better about it, but walking away with 3, great news. 1-0.
I love it. We would certainly take 3 points.
Yeah.
There's no Thomas shit talk to be had this week, so you can't make me change my prediction. Not far off from yours, but
okay.
1-1 draw for me.
Okay.
I think, we're still – I respect the hell out of Evander. Like, last week was his best game for sure, and he's looking a little bit more comfortable in that midfield. I actually think it could be, for him, addition by subtraction that Williamson is out of there because they're kind of similar players there at the 8. Yimmy being back does not make me feel good, of course. And so I feel like those bastards are going to sneak one past us. But I do think we get on the board up there for the first time in team history. I think there's got to be some good, more positive, upbeat vibes in the team this week after getting back on the board last week. And we know these guys are still hungry and think they know what they need to do and trying to pull 3 points away on the road as we continue to drop points at home. You got to grab some road points here eventually. So I don't think we get the 3, but 1 point up in Portland, I think is something, again, that we're not ecstatic about, but we can certainly build on. So 1-1 draw for me. And I'll say Driussi gets the goal. I'll go ahead and put in that call. Because, last week I was on, dude, if you had not made me change my prediction, I said 2-2 with a Rigoni goal at first. So 1-1 Driussi goal, coming back home with a point and not feeling terrible about ourselves. Some of the other Austin FC news, maybe not so much news as just like fan scuttlebutt here. I don't think you probably saw this as you've been biking through the gorgeous hill country, but Amro Tarek was active on Instagram the other day, Monday. You saw that?
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah. So working out on Monday in an apartment gym. I think that could be easily explained by the team having Monday morning off. But then posting a picture lounging by the pool later that day. And so it certainly was a conversation piece about, what is this guy doing?
He's on unemployment.
Yeah.
He's on the world unemployment deal.
And hey, you, I think rightfully so, gave me some shit for suggesting that Amro Tarek could start for Austin FC 2 at some point here in the next few weeks. And Josh did not say that in the post game. He alluded to Kip getting minutes with Austin FC 2 and that being good for him. He kind of said Amro Tarek needs just, I think, more time to get over it and get past it and build himself back up. Didn't really fully commit. If you go and watch the clip in full, he didn't really fully commit to him playing Austin FC 2 minutes. But dude, if you first of all,
he doesn't look too beat up about it.
That's one thing. I agree. And second, when in the world is this man going to get an opportunity with the first team unless he goes to the second team? Because for me, obviously we now have, what's that?
If he got a chance to play in a game with the club before Kip did, I would lose my shit.
Thank you. This has been, I hadn't really put this out anywhere today, but there is absolutely no way that you can put him on the field before Kip.
Hell fucking no. Way. No. Stay there, Amro. Whatever. I'm glad you're having a good time. But yeah, if he got a shot at this thing again before Kippy did, I'd be pissed. Especially because we have so much more invested in Kip. We just snagged Tarek after we had some injuries and shit.
Yeah. Yep. You took the take right out of my mouth. So we are in lockstep there. Because where would there even be a chance for Amro Tarek to get on the field? Maybe Open Cup, but no, that should be Kip, if anybody.
Yes.
And if we're taking it seriously, then you don't play Amro Tarek. That's just, I'm sorry, you don't. So I believe we're 63 days away from the summer transfer window, and we still have our buyout. It'll be interesting to see what the team does, because I am convinced that the franchise will not be sitting on its hands when July 5th comes. We are going to see some movement. It may be minimal, but there will be moves happening. I think there's no doubt about that.
I am very confident in that. First of all, just from the perspective of where this team is right now, where how the fan base is feeling, and the fact that we have now a new, not a new GM, but Claudio's gone, and you want to put your mark on this team, so you go get somebody, you bring in some, hopefully make this playoff push, you're no longer a temporary sporting director anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other piece of news I wanted to touch on was Sportico put out their list of the world's 50 most valuable soccer clubs in the year 2023. And I think the reason for the MLS being so prominent in this list is that there is no threat of relegation for these clubs. So that kind of props all of us up a little bit, but that's not our fault. And Austin FC, the 32nd most valuable football club in the world, 17 other MLS teams are in this list of the top 50. And the most interesting part about it, out of those 17 teams beside Austin FC, none of them, you heard me? None of them are named FC Dallas or Houston Dynamo. Fucking peasants. Anything from you on that wonderful chart put out by Sportico?
It was awesome. I saw it on the subreddit Cool Guides that I am subscribed to.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
Nice little graphic showing the MLS and everything like that. I was fucking shocked. But I guess it makes sense, because if you're not getting relegated, obviously you get the there's bonus levels at those pay scales and everything. And this is America, baby. We bail out the rich. So we got to prop these franchises up as best we fucking can. Put a piece of plywood in the Houston organization, stand them up right.
Yeah. Oh man, let's get into some last business day here. Let's talk your favorite team, Austin FC 2. Let's talk about the children who continue to avenge us. This is the second of 4 occurrences this season where the second team will travel to the same location as the first team and play the minor league affiliate of the first team's opponent. So Timbers 2 coming up on Sunday. I believe that is 5 p.m. Central Time. I know I've got it scrolling here on the video version, so I can confirm that here in a second instead of Googling it for myself. And we'll talk about some of the history of Timbers 2. They were formed, like many of these minor league affiliates, in the mid 2010s where there was no Next Pro. So Timbers 2 began as a USL club in 2014. Their nickname is T2. So they call them
Nice.
T2. So going up against T2 on Sunday, and as the scroll comes across the screen, that is Sunday, 7 p.m. Central. That'll be 5 p.m. local out there in Portland. This may be, on paper, I don't think it may be. I think this is by far the easiest matchup on paper for FC2 so far this year. T2 last year, 2 wins, 4 draws, 18 losses. 11th in the West. I believe that was bottom of the Western Conference last year. And this season, not much better, 1 win and 4 losses with a -7 goal differential. Their only win came against LAFC2, and LAFC2 is the only team below them currently in the Western Conference. So certainly a bottom-feeding team right now in Next Pro. And, I mean, you would think that our boys, with the deep roster that we're rolling with, could take care of business here. A little bit more on their roster. You know, we like to look at, what type of first-team guys are they working with? How many academy guys have they brought up? I think as maybe you could make an educated guess and say they probably don't have a ton of first-teamers given their record, and you would be correct. 3 first-teamers on the roster. One of them was David Ayala, who just tore his ACL with the first team last week. And one of them was signed to the first team on Friday because Noel Kaliskin was the 15th overall pick in the Super Draft in December. He was on a T2 contract and then was signed with the first team after the Williamson and Ayala injuries. So we may not even see Kaliskin. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but we may not see him with T2 this weekend. We might see him against the first team.
Yeah.
So the only other guy, Pablo Bonilla out of Venezuela, has made 1 appearance, I believe, with T2 and 1 appearance with the first team this year. So it appears he's been rolling more with the first team as well. And that would make sense why this team has struggled so badly, not just last season, but this season. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 academy players on this roster. So certainly one of the less experienced or less talented teams on paper. So I guess, I had a little bit more about Kaliskin here. He had 4 starts and 5 appearances for T2 so far this season. Again, was the 15th pick in the Super Draft this year. He has half of T2's goals. So if he is not around, I think they're going to struggle even more. He has 3 of their 6 goals. And for him, pretty accurate. Those were his only 3 shots on target so far this season either. All 3 have gone into the back of the net. So, yeah, man, I mean, I think this is going to be all about our boys this weekend. I think we get a road win here. But getting ahead of myself, let's talk a little bit about the lineup and what we want to see. You know, I mentioned last week that I wanted to see CJ Fodre play a full 90. I don't think we quite got the full 90 from him against Loons 2, although he did get the start. And it wasn't, I don't think, his best match. We saw Charlie Asensio on the bench to start that game. Of course, that was the weather-delayed match against Loons 2, one of your favorite names there in the Next Pro.
They got the
Is there anything? Yeah, they got their little loon, We also saw Valti back on the bench, Steve and Bobo there kind of in the midfield pairing. Valentin Noel, David started, AOC, of course, up top. Anything special you want to see here on Sunday, going up against one of the worst teams right now in Next Pro?
I'd like another Micah start. I think that's on my wish list there. Just, given the quality of this other club, get him in there and get him on the pitch a little more experience for him. But yeah, like you said, we should stomp these guys. And we're deep enough. I mean, it's hard for me to say who I want to see because, like, I love EJ.
Love them all. Yeah.
I love David. Like, we just have so much talent with this young core of guys. But Valentin, obviously, kind of seems like our, he calms us down a little bit. He's a steady presence for us. That's really. So I think that he's who we build around with that lineup. And then CJ again, I'm on board for this full 90 thing that you're looking for, because it does signal to me that he's progressing more and tracking towards more coming up to the first team. So that's where I'm at with these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm certainly right there with you. I would love to see Micah Burton get another start here against this team that seems to be, again, a lower level compared to some of the teams, like when we're seeing Tacoma in there with Sissoko and Baker Whiting and Leyva, who's now playing for the Rapids. It's just seems like a different beast that we're taking on here on Sunday. I think EJ, like after his performance off the bench last week I don't know if you saw the replay of his goal. Like, we're down a man, physical steal, drives it into the box, blasts it. Like, to me, he deserves a start. But like you said, like, who the hell do we take out? Because all these guys have brought, I think, positive things to the table. I wouldn't mind seeing Vela get out there. I think with I know we're going to see Charlie Asensio out there because there will be no check to Ray after his red card. So we may see 90 minutes out of Hafferty and Asensio. We may see somebody get in there at fullback that we haven't seen a ton from, maybe play a little bit out of position there. Keller and Sal, I think, back in there, of course, and Damian going to do his thing. So it is tougher to say what we want out of this team than it is the first team.
Yeah, for sure. Did you see that Wrexham's going to play LA Galaxy 2?
What? Galaxy 2?
Yeah.
I did not, but that's not, I guess, like, I've been waiting for the summer tour details that have been rumored. Like, when are we getting that friendly? Mm-hmm. What if they come and play Austin FC 2? You have to play that at Q2.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
You can't play that at the pitch.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So,
that'd be so cool for the guys too.
I know. That'd be great.
Did my subterfuge on the LA Galaxy sub. Their shit's popping up on my algorithm feed now, and I saw that.
Well, I guess we'll get back to the subterfuge next week in the Dallas subreddit, since we'll excuse you from duties while you're on the road this week. I guess one thing left to do here before we get into some MLS talk and then the nonsense score predictions. This is certainly a week where both of us are picking Austin FC 2 to win again. I don't think I've done anything but pick them to win either this season. So I'll start it off 3-0. 3-0. Like, take care of these bums. Let's wrap it up, go home, finish the weekend on a high note. 3-0. And I'll say, give me this one. CJ scores, breaks the seal. First goal in an Austin FC 2 uniform. What do you got for me?
I'm going to raise you one. We go 4-0. EJ goal again.
Ooh, EJ back on the board. All right. I like it.
So it's my boy now.
Well, and hey, in both of our predictions, room for both of those guys to get on the board. So let's see it, fellas. We're cheering for you as always. Let's just do real quick on MLS Week 10, some of the results that we saw around the league as I pull up the results from last week. Checking in on the rivals, Houston had a bye. So their fans have nothing better to do than sniff Austin FC farts on Twitter. Dallas. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, man, when, if you understand Twitter's algorithm, and I just say, if you understand Twitter's algorithm, replying to people that you don't like is not something you would do. So keep giving us the free labor, please. Dallas on Sunday night, just kind of maybe alluding to the bets. They did not come through for us, but like you said, maybe the best bet we can make because Dallas on the road there, 0-0 draw with Minnesota. And so they have now played Minnesota twice on the year and only got a point out of it. So struggling with the Loons are FC Dallas. We mentioned Portland knocking St. Louis down another peg. I mean, they certainly haven't turned back into a pumpkin, so to speak, but like they are not in good form right now. 1 win out of their last 5. It's better form than us, but still they are coming back to earth a little bit on 19 points there. A point above LAFC, who was on bye, but LAFC now with 2 games in hand. Let's see what else we had in week 10 that I think was interesting. DC, your boys. I mean, you put in the call. We put in a lot of calls, not just weekly, but before the season. And that was maybe the one that you gave yourself the most shit for picking them in our team points draft. They might have the most points out of any team you drafted. DC, back-to-back wins, back-to-back weeks with 3 goals scored. And Benteke scoring in back-to-back weeks. So is our boy Taxi Fountas. But did you see the Benteke goal this week? Bicycle kick.
The fighting Roonies, baby.
Yeah.
I love them.
Hey, you had it first.
Yeah. Let's see how it ends up. Look, I was definitely first and only.
Yeah. DC United now sitting on 14 points from their 10 games played, but 9 in a row, 9 points in a row.
Healthy.
And then, we had the early game too. Like I love this schedule that we saw in MLS last weekend with the early game on Saturday, national TV, late game Sunday, national TV. Nashville getting it done, rivalry match there against Atlanta United. Hani Mukhtar being the wizard that he is, Thiago Almada getting back on the board. So it was I thought another good week of MLS action, and maybe I'm just saying that because the bets did not totally tank this week, and the North End podcast soaring in the best ball league. We'll get to that in a second, but let's start the nonsense here, and we'll talk about the bets. 2-4 on the week, so we've certainly had worse performances this season. And some of the ones that we'll go through the ones that didn't come through. We had Austin plus 105, right? I feel fine about that still. Like we were right there to getting a win. New England plus 120, they end up with the draw. Seattle plus 155, they end up with the draw. Dallas plus 195, they end up with a draw. And then the two that we did hit that Nashville plus 115. That was a good start to the week. Made us kind of feel like, all right, maybe we're going to get something going here. And then Orlando bounced back against LA Galaxy, who struggled without Ricky Pooch, as we had predicted. So minus 1.7 units on the week. Again, we've had worse. And now down 23.94 units. Let's see if we can get some profit this week. We'll see. And at the very least, we will continue to provide the free entertainment and laughs for people who and maybe helping them with their wallet if they're just fading all of our picks.
Fade our picks, baby.
Let's get into some of the week 11 action. I'll start it off here. I like the theory that you brought to the table 2 weeks ago. Give me Houston at home, where they have not lost yet. Minus 105, RSL coming to town, and anything but a Houston win also works for me. So Houston, nearly even odds at home, coming off a week of rest. They should be ready for these guys coming down from the mountain time zone, out of the elevation into the dense humidity of that disgusting stadium. Houston minus 105 to start. And I'll toss it to you. What do you got here first? You got no computer in front of you. So do you remember what you're betting on this week?
I will say, you can say what you will about our unit record, but show me another person who has discovered the perfect bet. And it's either you win money, or you get to laugh at these guys.
Yeah.
So, we wanted to go to the Seba well last week, and talk in the green room at the North End podcast of putting at least 10 units on the Seba goal. And look, we're searching for different strategies here. So I am also going to go back to the well. What am I going to get Seba at for anytime goal this week?
This week, right now, it looks like Driussi anytime goal is coming in at plus 250. That's disrespectful.
Right, but do you think that takes into account that they know that he doesn't like playing on turf?
No, because they have CJ Fodre at plus 280, so I don't think they know shit about what's going on, really.
All right, so I'm giving people way too much credit. Cool.
And look, when I say they don't know shit, this is a company that has consistently taken our money over the first 10 weeks of the season, so who really doesn't know shit?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you can't be mad at that. Plus 250?
Yeah. I mean, guy's going to take our PKs. We saw him start to take free kicks with no Diego.
Yep. No Diego.
I like it.
Let's do it. Lock it.
All right. Driussi to score plus 250. And if we're going to roll with this theory, let's fucking roll with it. Give me Dallas at home. Minus 125. St. Louis coming to town. Those bums. And to be honest, like last week, they had no Joao Klaus, no Jared Stroud. So if either of those guys are out again this week, that looks even worse, I think, for St. Louis's chances, to be sure. So yeah, give me Dallas minus 125 at home here in the friendly confines, and it's a win-win, right? I mean, we're working the theory here.
The best bet ever. I'm in Blanco. Is it Blanco or Blanco? I've heard
Blanco, I think that's how I've said it.
I've heard both from people who live here.
Yeah.
We got in super late after the broken tire. It was like 9:00. We're searching for anywhere to eat, and we found this spot called Hacienda El Charro.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the CCL game on.
Hey, nice.
I was like, hell yeah, that's awesome. So we had a nice little meal there and caught a little bit of that game. And obviously, I'm going back to the well that is filled with depth of amazing players, and that is in San Jose, yeah?
Yeah. In San Jose, LAFC right now, plus 135 on the road there.
Yep. Thank you. I'll take my units now, Thomas.
Well, we know they will be without Carlos. Fuck, man. I heard his name on the broadcast correctly. I heard Landon Cotham say it correctly yesterday on Moon Tower. I still say Akapo, and I know that is not correct, but he will be out with the hamstring injury. And one thing, look, jumping back into, I guess maybe the serious type of stuff here, the news. You remember on Saturday night when Josh said that there was like some extracurriculars in that dust up on the sideline. So the team put out the kind of little recap video midweek, and they made sure to show Christian Espinoza making contact with Nick Lima's face. And then right after that video was released, the league said Earthquakes and Austin FC were each found in violation of the mass confrontation policy. Austin was issued an undisclosed fine, first violation of the season. Both San Jose and their coach, Luchi Gonzalez, had been fined an undisclosed amount for their second violation this season. And then due to their roles in the dust-up, Carlos Gruezo, Christian Espinoza, Judson, what was his first name? I forget his first name. But then Osene Buda, who I think came off the bench for this, and then Johan Valencia, all five of those guys were issued undisclosed fines for inciting and or escalating a mass confrontation. But man, like in true MLS fashion, all undisclosed, that's no fun.
Yeah. Well, look, man, you can't slap a man in his face.
Yeah, you can't. And I don't care like how soft it was or like how Lima reacted. Like, you can't do that.
No, you cannot do that.
So, yeah,
fun.
just
Tell Thomas they better fucking shape up out there.
Yeah. I think he responded to our tweet saying, I didn't see anything. Let's keep the bets rolling here. We'll stay with those CCL teams. Philly getting a lot less respect than LAFC here. Philly plus 235 on the road at Red Bulls, who are still reeling, I think, from the Dante Van Zier game. They have not looked good since then. So I will use Philly, who, again, Philly maybe not playing the best either right now in terms of their league play. But they got back on track with a 4-2 win over Toronto last week. In New York right now, Red Bulls, worst team in the East in the standings. Yeah. So Philly plus 235 on the road. We'll lock that in. And then let me close it out. I'm going back to the Sounders. They are at home this week, back in the friendly confines. This is the Sunday afternoon national TV game. Lowly Sporting Kansas City coming to town. So Seattle's minus 155 on the week to get the win. I'm going to pair that with the over 1.5 in the game. That brings it down to even odds. Sporting Kansas City, 3 goals for through their first 10 games. That's an MLS record for the lowest amount of goals for through the first 10 games of a season. So I'm picking on SKC, going back to the Sounders. Well, even without Raul Ruidiaz, this team should still get it done at home. And I think they put multiple goals on the board against this SKC side. So wrapping up here, Houston minus 105 to win, Dallas minus 125 to win. You've got LAFC plus 135, and Driussi to score plus 250. And then I've got Philly to win plus 235 and Seattle to win plus the over 1.5. And that's even odds. Those are the week 11 betting picks. Let's go. Turning it around this week, just like we have turned things around in the Verde Best Ball League. Quick recap of our successes there recently. Back-to-back wins. Week 10 coming in with the top score, 50 points for the good guys, behind 10 from Taxi Fountas, 10 from Emiliano Rigoni, 9 from Evander, 9 from Cucho. Is it any coincidence that now that we are healthy on our front line, all of a sudden the goals come rolling in? I don't think so. Lorenzo Insigne, first game back, goal. Cucho Hernandez, first game back, goal. Taxi Fountas, first game back, goal. Second game back, goal. Evander, first game back, goal. We love to see it. Georgi Petrovic also 8 points with the penalty save. That is as good as a goal for your offensive player. So 50 points. We're feeling great about that. And we are Austin TV feeling a little bit better about their week 10 performance, bouncing back from week 9, which was one of their toughest performances of the season. They get 11 from Almada, 10 from Seba, 8 from Walker Zimmerman, 8 from Dane St. Clair with the clean sheet on Sunday. Struggle with their forwards, 2 each from Swiderski and Jesus Ferreira. So only 4 from their forwards this week. 41 points for them, 36 for the Texas Ring of Fire boys, who had 5 DNPs and a bye. Still got 10 points out of Martin Paz, out of Christian Espinoza, 9 from our boy Danny Pereira. So 36. We do pass Texas Ring of Fire, though, into third place. Out of last place for the first time since week 3. We love to see it. And we also love to see Moon Tower with the disaster week, 27 points behind 5 bye weeks, and 4 DNPs. They do get 11 from Hani Mukhtar, 8 from Jeremy Abobasi, and the rest was kind of garbage there. So that does close the gap between them in first and We Are Austin TV in second. That gap is back down to 10. 458 total for Moon Tower, 448 total for We Are Austin TV. We crest the 400 mark, 407 for the North End. We are coming for those top 2 spots, 396 for Texas Ring of Fire. We'll see you later, RB. We ain't looking back. That last place is a thing of the past. So looking forward to week 11. And that'll do it. I mean, we got to get you back on the road. I know you guys are traveling to your next campsite tonight. Couple more days left in the Tour de E. And we will be back. I mean, Saturday night, Timbers, 9:30 p.m. Central. Sunday, 7 p.m. Central, FC2. We will be back on Sunday with episode 53, recapping both matches. Anything else for you to tell me or the people before you get back on your trek across the Texas Hill Country?
Pray for my butt.
Okay.
Seats are painful.
Well, everybody pray for E's butt. I think it's a good message. It's a solid message. So we'll keep you in our thoughts, buddy. We will get out of here, but before we do, we want to remind you, if you've got 5 seconds, to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. And tell a friend. Look, if your friend is looking for Austin FC content to enhance their fandom, we know you've got a ton of choices. But if they don't know about the North End Pod and you enjoy the ridiculousness that we bring to you twice a week, go ahead and tell a friend. Spread the podcast among the Verde faithful. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this video, hit the like button. Hit the like button for E in the super secure compound out there in Blanco, Texas, getting on his phone, ruining the phone battery, I think, about to die. So we'll get out of here once you hit that like button. Atone for your sins. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Again, we'll be back on Sunday. Everybody enjoy your week. Have a good weekend. He's E. I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.